Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at Laphroaig, Carchus, meaning friendship, the Quarter Cask from 2017. 57.2% ABV. Dustin.
Sir.
I had this bottle, and you were able to get me a couple more bottles of this. I bought 4 in total because I was a pretty big fan of this particular one, so I'm excited to bring it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to finally do a review on this one. I've had one full bottle myself, and I share with a few friends. This is the second bottle that I've opened, and I drank it down strong amount of the way.
Yep.
So for those of you not familiar with what a Laphroaig Carchus is, basically every year Laphroaig will do a Carchus or a friendship bottling, usually at cask strength. You know, Triple Wood was at cask strength, this was at cask strength. Sometimes they just do it at a high ABV like the Pheno cask.
Yeah, I think this year's one I'm thinking is just higher proof.
Higher proof, yeah, but above 50%. So, I mean, they're strong ABV offerings. This one is just nothing crazy. Not an exotic cask maturation. It's just the quarter cask done at cask strength. And what we have talked about, but probably with the Carchus, with the Triple Wood and with this quarter cask, the ones that are traditional offerings or standard offerings from Laphroaig, I think they just pick the best casks they currently have for that given year, pump them up, do a cask strength ABV, and just bottle them up and let us try the best version of the quarter cask we possibly can.
Yep.
Now, and we talked about this, Dustin and I talked about this off camera, but I'm a huge fan of the quarter cask. If any of the NAS Laphroaigs, I prefer the quarter cask over any of the other ones. I don't care if it's a Triple Wood or even the Lure, which is a more expensive bottle. I really like the quarter casks. It gives me a little something of Laphroaig that I just really can't get with some of the other bottlings. And what I really like about most of these Carchus bottles is it's in a clear glass bottle, so you can really see the nice color of the whiskey. Although, I'm not sure if this is natural color or not.
Doesn't say.
Doesn't say.
I don't think
I'm assuming no.
Now, this does say that it's barrier filtered, not chill filtered. So at least we're getting a little bit of premium thing there. And it actually says cask strength, which, again, some of these don't say. So this is nice. We know this is cask strength.
So yeah, what we know is it's definitely cask strength.
Yep.
And it's not chill filtered. So two of the steps.
Yeah, hey.
Do we want to see? Right here.
Yeah, and I mean, the color doesn't jump out at me as like this is clearly colored, but
if it doesn't say it, I assume.
Yeah, it's a
weird color.
It's just.
So for those of you who don't know much about the quarter cask, I'm a huge fan of Laphroaig. Done, I can't know, a dozen Laphroaig reviews on this channel so far. But Laphroaig generally does cover the majority of their whiskeys, and you know, it's like something like the 28, the 27, the 32. It's almost like an odd orangey glow. Yeah. Where some of the other ones are fairly consistent as far as what they look like. And with the quarter cask, it doesn't necessarily look like it's a colored whiskey, but again, if it doesn't say it, I would assume that it is. Tell you a little bit about the quarter cask. Basically, they're matured. The whiskey is matured for the first 5 years in ex-bourbon barrels. Okay. And then they transfer them to quarter casks, which are just what you would think, just smaller casks. There's more contact with wood. And with the normal quarter cask, I just thought it always gave a very creamy, vanilla, oily Laphroaig that would still held the distillery characteristic. But let's see what we think about this one.
Yep.
Justin, let's get into it.
Yep. So I mean, the first thing I get is a little bit different note here, but a little bit of a lactose. So it's kind of that vanilla cream, a little lactose, and then I get kind of a little bit of a hint of sour. And then I think what that sour kind of then shifts into that kind of Laphroaig medicinal peat. I'm not getting smoke here, Mike. I don't know if it's because...
Boy, I tell you what, you're getting that medicinal Laphroaig characteristic. This is one where if you tasted it blind or smelled it blind, you'd be like, Laphroaig. There is definitely definitely a big Laphroaig punch in this. But the quarter cask give me a almost oily, creamy vanilla note to it. Yeah. That is very unique to the distillery.
Yeah, like I said, that's kind of where I'm getting that lactose. It's like lactose with vanilla, but I'm not getting smoke. I'm not getting that overt like smoke. I'm getting the medicinal Laphroaig, not the smoke.
Because I tell you what, I would assume this is less than 10 years old. I would assume it's 6-7-year-old whiskey would be my guess. Usually with the quarter cask, that's how it works. It's 5 years in bourbon barrels and say 9 or 10 months in quarter casks. I would assume it's a very similar maturation. So this is probably 6, maybe 7-year-old whiskey at most.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting any ethanol, so they got it past that spirity level for sure. And I think the quarter cask really just adds a level of, it makes it age a little bit more.
It definitely does, but just the way it ages, you know what I mean? I don't know what it is about those quarter casks, but it takes away the alcohol sharpness and instantly just puts in this oily vanilla note to it.
Yeah.
That is just as strong as a high alcohol smell.
Yeah.
But it's more pleasant.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly get more youth notes on the batch 12 of the Laphroaig 10 that just came out.
That's a high ABV one. But yeah, I mean, you would think, for a whiskey that's probably pushing twice as old, you wouldn't get it. But man, Quarter Cask does something to a whiskey that is just, especially with Laphroaigs, that just very gentle to it, but turns it in such a way that the alcohol sharpness is completely missing.
One thing we don't talk about very often when we're discussing these, Mike, is the level of like the strength of the notes, right? And this one to me is actually not very aromatic for a cask strength, oily, rich dram. It's a little subdued.
But again, I think it's just that Quarter Cask,
Yeah.
knocking down those very high ABVs and harsh alcohol note with this oily vanilla.
Yeah.
And I get a ton of that oily vanilla. I'm also getting a nuttiness to it that's really nice. Almond shavings.
Yeah, it's like for me, it's more of like a grassy field with like, you're kind of smelling some of that rich earth.
There is definitely an earthy note to this.
Oh no, there's a little bit of a barn. That's where the nuttiness is. It's a barn for me.
Dry hay.
Yeah, hay. Maybe it's a little wet, damp mud.
It's almost like a barn in springtime.
Yeah.
But with hay that you get at the end of the year.
Yeah. Fall hay.
Fall hay with fresh springtime mud and earth.
Yeah.
Like the snow just melted, you know what I mean? But the earth is coming back alive. The sun's just heating it up in the morning.
Yeah, it's very inviting, very approachable, very this is very nice Laphroaig.
Obviously I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. But when I was a young boy, I lived in northern Illinois, and I had a cousin who married a guy his parents were farmers, and I would spend some time on the farm every once in a while, and I always wanted to help. Which I didn't realize that labor was something you got paid for. I just thought it was a fun thing to do.
Exactly.
And I would always go out with my cousin's husband's mother, which was in relation to me, and feed the chickens in the morning. And throwing that corn down, or not the corn, throwing that meal down was the chickens ate in that chicken coop first thing in the morning, like as the sun's coming up. Again, when there's still dew on the grass and everything else like that, I'm getting a little bit of that chicken coop, walking into the chicken coop smell.
Interesting. I've never been in the chicken coop. I've been in the barns.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Been in a lot of barns, but
A little bit of that chicken coop, damp earthness.
And I've got to say, as we're kind of nosing this, it is getting a little more aromatic. I've been picking up more and more notes, and it's really nice richness, a lot of complexity.
Yeah, it's rich. I mean, I don't know how complex this whiskey is. I mean, it only does a few things, but I mean, it's a lot of smoke, it's a lot of medicinal, it's a lot of vanilla. I don't know what else really on the nose I'm picking up. Maybe, again, other than that hay and that light earthiness.
Yeah, I'll say it's a complex simple, though. Like, whatever those simple notes are, they're really hard to decipher, kind of dissect and figure out what are those. That's where I go with complex. It's not complex in the sense that there's not layers, it's not changing.
Sure. But what it has, it's great. What are you picking up on the palate?
Yeah, so this is a flavor bomb. Like, it just blasts you with vanilla, peat. The smoke that I'm not picking up on the nose is in full force here on the palate. It's creamy. You got the oak. I mean, it's again not super complex. I know I've heard the words coconut come out a few times, and I'm getting a hint of that, which actually I've not picked up on before.
Super spicy.
Yep.
I wasn't picking up any spice on the nose initially, but I tell you what, with as soon as it hit my palate, again you get that vanilla cream and that oil, but then instantly spice.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some ethanol on it here on the palate. I mean, not in an unpleasant way, but you don't pick up the ABV on the nose. You pick it up the second it hits your tongue. Incredibly
aggressive.
Yes.
On the palate, but in a good way. I mean, again, this isn't. It's very much like Laphroaig 10 cask strength, in which the flavor is just so amped up, but it's nothing off-putting if you're a fan of Laphroaig.
Oh, exactly. I mean, this is how you want these offerings, and for me, peated whiskey should be cask strength even more than any other style, just because part of what you like with peat is that intensity, those rich, earthy, smoky.
So phenolic.
Yeah.
So phenolic. And I tell you what, with a few drops of water, you even get more of those phenolic notes. It's even more of a hospital.
I feel like it's even more vanilla though too.
Yeah, that's even more there. You almost smell the oil. It's so.
I'm almost starting to get like a French vanilla if I'm not going crazy here.
It's almost, when you mention coconut now, like on the nose with a few drops of water, it's almost coconut.
Oh, that's what it is. It's coconut and vanilla.
Yeah.
It's vanilla. It starts off vanilla and then it goes to a little bit of coconut. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, maybe that's not the lactose. Maybe when I was thinking kind of milky, it's the coconut milk.
Yeah, I wasn't with you when you said lactose earlier, but yeah, coconut is blatantly obvious at this point with a little bit of water.
But I still get a touch of it's milky.
Coconut shavings.
I haven't had coconut milk in a while, so.
No, but I mean, it smells like coconut shavings.
Yeah, and then there's still kind of like a putty, kind of art project, kind of a medicinal thing that Laphroaig always seems to have.
Yeah, the medicinal notes are, they're usually at a 10 with this distillery, but there might be at a 12 with this one.
Yeah, but I don't get doctor's office. I know that's like a common one, like those rubbers and things. I don't get the rubber. It's more just, it's more earthy, on the earthy side.
Freshly clean doctor's office. The gloves before you open.
They haven't brought the gloves out yet. That's
yeah, exactly. You're in the dentist chair. You've been bad.
I swear, I've only been drinking whiskey. How could I have any sugar or cavities?
Yeah, there's no way. That's what Listerine is, right?
But
Just alcohol?
it's pretty similar. All right, it's sweeter with the water, Mike. I mean, significantly sweeter.
Yeah, let me take it.
Same flavors, but I'm just, oh man. When the finish now is going, the finish I would have said before was barely medium. Now we're getting into medium to medium long.
Boy, I tell you what, vanilla and coconut water with water.
One thing I noticed with the water is, initially, I said the first taste is just a flavor bomb on the palate.
Mm-hmm.
This one actually hits a little softer now, and then the flavor builds up and it comes at you in waves, and that gives you this bigger, longer finish, better mid palate, less upfront.
Yeah, it's not as spicy up front with water on it. So the spiciness is kind of chopped. The legs are chopped out from underneath the spiciness. Yeah. But yeah, it's a little more measured.
Yeah, and
with water.
The medicinal comes out really strong, like at the end of the mid palate into that finish. Like it is heavy medicinal.
This isn't the most flavorful Laphroaig Karshas I've ever had. I think some of the other ones, like the triple wood, and even the Pheno cast, kind of take like sweetness and some of the oaky and spiciness in a different direction. That's a little bit more. So this is a little bit raw and unrefined of a Karchas offering comparatively, in my opinion. But I tell you what, there's something about it I just love, man. I just love
it's a bit one-dimensional.
Yeah, I love its basicness.
Yeah, I mean it's
very basic.
It's vanilla, coconut, and then it's Laphroaig, peat, medicinal.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is
it.
Well, it's very oily, yes.
Very oily.
In fact, actually, that's probably, in my mind, Mike, that's probably where this is doing the most. Is it's so oily.
I mean, it's almost like they melted a stave of the cask and like put it in the bottle with it. You ever? Of course, you have had it, but if you guys are familiar with like Blackadder raw cask, the Isla cask one that I have that I loved.
Yeah,
I think you picked up.
Which I think is like a 10-year-old Laphroaig.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, or Kalila or something like that. Is it?
I think it's Laphroaig.
Is it Laphroaig? The pieces, they have little pieces of the wood in there. It almost feels like there's pieces of the wood in here, like there's pieces of the stave, and that's where the oiliness comes from. Because as far as oil and the texture of the oil on the palate, this is probably the greatest example that I have currently in my whiskey collection.
This puts the triple wood to shame in terms of that oily, rich feel.
No, none of the other cartridges can come close to that.
But again, I gotta go back to this is a very simple whiskey compared to any other Isla at the similar price point, which is, I think these came out around 70, but I think we paid about 90.
Roughly for them.
Yeah.
This is a $90 whiskey all day long.
Oh, I think 110, and you're probably still not upset at all with these.
No, again, I bought 4 of these bottles in total. I don't think I ever paid over 100, even with shipping on any of them, or probably just right under 100.
Yep.
And this is not a whiskey that I, regret spending 1 cent on. I love this whiskey. I'm a huge fan of Laphroaig, as you know. I have plenty of them, 25, 30 of them.
Yep.
But this is one of my favorite ones. That's right up there as far as the experience with the 10 cask strength, the 18, and the 25. You know what this whiskey is.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to remember this whiskey. So anyway, Dustin, where are you at as far as the score on this one?
Yeah, so I'm going to go, I've been going back and forth in my head.
Yep.
There's part of me that I think the price is letting me influence the score.
Sure.
And I got to take that out of my head. So I think we're at about an 87, Mike.
I'm going La Pantera, the White Sox center fielder, Luis Robert, 88.
Fair enough.
If you guys haven't checked it out, I'm a huge baseball fan. La Pantera, he is a rookie. Been called the Latin Mike Trout, or a combination of Andrew Jones plus Bo Jackson. And I got to say, after 40 games, I'm impressed. So I'm giving this to La Pantera, Luis Robert, 80 out of 100. And again, I think I am somewhat influenced by the price of this whiskey. But as you know, we just did the Ardbeg 19.
Yep.
And we were both at kind of the 87, 88. Price notwithstanding, would you rather have this Carchus or would you rather have the 19 Ardbeg?
I like the Ardbeg.
All right, so we take this.
Yep.
I
And
would,
you know what?
I would take this Laphroaig.
But you know what? Our scores actually reflect that exactly.
Yeah. I was 87, you were 88, and I'm at 87,
Yep.
88. Yeah, you're sure we're right there. So, Laphroaig, Carchus, Quarter Cask, La Pantera. Try the whiskey, watch the highlights of the player, and until next time.
Happy drinking.